So this is the new Synology router.
Yep, exactly. So we already released last year the RT2600ac that you already covered. And since the market has been very good to us, we decided to release the bigger version, which is the RT2600ac.
So right here is the 1900. This one over there. So it's selling really good.
Yep. So it's we've been very satisfied with the sales.
So this is the first router you made, right?
Yep, the previous one, and now that's the second one.
And you basically went in and you showed the whole industry how to make a router, or what?
Well, we still don't have, we're not first in terms of market share because we're still penetrating the market. However, we do have very good results in terms of sales, and we did receive a lot of positive feedback on our user interface, which is kind of, as you said, we're trying to redefine a bit what's been done in this area.
So how do you redefine? Is it kind of like does it have anything to do with software-defined networking, or what is it?
Maybe not. I would not use such strong words for a router of this kind. But what I would say to summarize it, it brings a lot of basic advanced feature through an interface that's usable by someone without a PhD in computer science. And at the same time, because at the origin we're a storage vendor, so you can turn your router into a small NAS server that brings a lot of values for both our consumer users and at the enterprise.
So you can turn your home into a cloud server?
Yep, actually we are also releasing our router runs on what we call Synology Router Manager. It's our operating system, shortened with SRM. And we're entering the 1.1 beta version very soon. And this will feature the Cloud Station package. That will allow you to either back up your data, synchronize your data among different devices, or if you use a client on Windows and Mac that we developed ourselves called Cloud Station Backup, it's going to allow you to do real-time backup of your computer through your router.
It sounds awesome. And it's fast?
Yeah, it's pretty fast because everything is done real-time. So as soon as the file has been modified, you already have a version on your router, and it's leverage all our experience in terms of backup, so you can access to something like a bit more than 60,000 versions. Of course, you are limited by the space at the end, but you can go back in time through the interface. And let's say, even currently, we're trying to explain to our users that it's probably the best protection against ransomware. As you might be aware of it, ransomware are getting pretty big on the internet, and being able to roll back to a previous version of your file from 5 minutes ago, that's the best thing you can do against ransomware.
Okay, roll back. And so what's new about this one?
Okay, so this one, the first obvious thing is it has 4 antenna. So this is a high-speed MU-MIMO antenna. It also features what we become a classic for Synology router. So here you got the regular USB port, but on the side you got USB 3 and SD card. So this is the USB 3 port and the SD card. So it allows you to plug a bit of storage to turn your router into a NAS.
So you have a USB 2 and a USB 3?
Yeah, and an SD card.
Why would you have a 2 and a 3? What do you do in one and the other?
Okay, so USB 3 would be more for storage. And maybe, for instance, for USB 2, you can plug in a 4G modem, and that brings us to a new feature in SRM 1.1. You can actually do some failover or load balancing between different network inputs. So let's say you got your main internet landline here, 4G here, and you live in a place where internet is not that stable. So when this one port goes offline, you switch directly from your 4G stick here.
Nice.
And at the same time, this is more for our enterprise user. When you got 2 internet access to get more speed, for instance, you can have actually 2 WAN port, because this,
Really?
yeah, this LAN port here, this LAN port here, you can have 2 internet access to get more speed. So let's say you got 2 internet access, 1 for your enterprise user, 1 for your enterprise user. You can have actually 2 WAN port because this, yeah, this LAN port here can be converted into a one port.
Really, I was just about to ask that. I wish it was possible, and it's there.
Yeah.
Is it not a 1900?
This one has to be confirmed. This feature has to be confirmed.
So right here, there's 2.1, so you can buy 2 internet access and combine them.
Yes, and do some load balancing between the both of them.
So when you download stuff, it can use both internet access at the same time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter which website. It works on YouTube and everything.
And if you want, maybe you can limit YouTube access, and maybe because you, I don't know, in a company network, you always have like that guy who downloads stuff and things like this, and you can actually because that's also a new feature. We got a daily report or a weekly report that tells you each device the daily consumption, which application they use, and it allows you to manage your network and make sure you can download everything on the fly. You can make sure to manage everything.
Nice. So I would guess you could combine a cable internet with ADSL provider both at the same time, and that would potentially double your upload speed, double your download speed. But how does it work?
After considering the technical details, it's more you would require an engineer to answer this question.
Yeah.
And if you really want, we can get in touch a bit later, and I can put you in touch with our engineers.
So what are the other special features about using a Synology router?
So I mentioned Cloud Station. No, one of the features that I can actually use at home myself is the VPN server. So the router can be turned into a VPN server, and you can use it to connect to remote websites from another country.
So if I'm in, let's say, in London with the router, I can make a VPN serwer and access through it when I'm in China.
For instance, yeah.
So then I can access everything.
And also, we're releasing a new package called intrusion detection. So basically, the router is going to analyze every package that comes in, and if one of them is flagged as suspicious, we'll remove it directly.
So you do deep packet analysis, and you introduced with 1900ac a whole bunch of deep packet analysis kind of stuff that nobody else was doing in consumer routers.
It's pretty enterprise grade, and it's one of the things we'd like to bring, because those features are pretty cool and very useful. But the problem is they had 2 issues at first: price, because they tend to be on very high-end router, and usability, because you needed someone to configure them, to maintain it, and now most of it is automated through the interface and require very little configuration.
All right. So Synology, are you the coolest NAS company in the world?
I guess so, yeah. We're definitely the one that's provide the best user experience, and probably the most reliable hardware too.
So all these NAS are super popular with medium, mid-sized companies, or just consumers? And
it depends on the size of the NAS, of course. So on our smaller and maybe less expensive NAS, we're
something like this one?
Yeah, we are very happy to enjoy very high market share in Europe. So we'd like to thank everyone about this.
Yeah.
And that's the same on the small business, even on the enterprise segment. We do have a lot of recognition. So now in a lot of customer survey, Synology start to be named around big names like Cisco, IBM, Dell, and we're recognized even on the maybe high-end market.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things happening in terms of technology in that world. So it says right here, powered by Intel, but you do ARM stuff too.
Yes, we do.
You've been doing it for a long time.
Well, this is, for example, ARM-based, for instance.
What is the CPU here?
If I remember, it's a Qualcomm, but I don't have the exact details for you right now.
So is this also an IoT home gateway?
Well, it depends, because the thing is, as IoT, you don't really have standards right now. So we decided to wait a bit.
So that doesn't do Z-Wave or all these Zigbees, but potentially you could plug in a USB dongle and support it, maybe.
Because we also provide, especially for our NAS, we provide an SDK on our website. It's on developer.synology.com, and if you want to start using your device with our product, it's very easy to actually program your own thing, because everything is Linux based. So if you have the right drivers and a bit of experience in this area, you can actually make your product work on our product using our SDK.
It's not open source, is it?
It's part of it is open source because it's based on some it's based on a couple of open source technology, and then we also have a proprietary part.
Proprietary bunch of stuff in there, but the API is really is it successful? Is there a lot of people using it to implement stuff?
A lot of third-party developers. Some of them are actually very useful, so we decided to integrate them in our own package center, so you can access them directly from the user interface. I think in total, officially supported package, we got at least 70 of them, and it goes from a wiki to an entire ERP, and after that we get the entire community, a big ecosystem built around Synology. I don't have the exact numbers for this, but I know there are a lot of very famous repository on the internet that features thousands of packages.
You have BitTorrent sync support. You have
well, we do have our own BitTorrent clients.
Yeah.
And there is not. Oh, you mean BitTorrent sync?
Yeah, they have this thing where they synchronize, and you could fill up a NAS and fill it and synchronize with another NAS or something.
For this, actually, we do have Cloud Station that allows you to sync from NAS to NAS in real time. That's been that's working for a couple of years now. On the most higher-end model, we also provide something called snapshot replication. That allows you basically every 5 minutes, the NAS is going to take a snapshot of your data and replicate it to a distant site. And this is because it's a new technology that works on a file system that we improve called Btrfs. Unfortunately, it runs only on Intel-based product because ARM doesn't have the right instruction yet. But it allows you to replicate without impacting the system in terms of performance, and will allow you to basically replicate the data abroad without performance hit.
Nice. And all these NAS have USB ports. You can plug in a 2 terabytes and it just puts it in and adds it or something.
You can use. You got two ways of expanding data storage. Either through your USB ports. So now all our NAS feature USB 3, so it goes pretty fast. But what we would recommend is actually use those USB hard drive for backup your essential data. But some of our NAS actually do provide at the back an eSATA ports. So there are a member of the Plus series, and those eSATA ports can be used with our expansion unit called DX513. Okay. And you will just plug them to your NAS, and they will, it's plug and play. And after, within the storage, the NAS storage manager, you'll be able to access the other drives as if they were
inside,
part of,
as fast as if they were in there.
And use them. You can use them in the same volumes.
How many extra do you add on the?
It depends on the model. Most of them can have the 5-bay expansion unit.
So that means how many in the here? 4 plus 5. Yeah. You can have 9.
Yep. And the biggest one after in consumer grade. For the consumer one, we got the DS1815 Plus, which can so the base unit has 8-bay, and you can add 2 expansion units, so for a total of 18-bay.
That's completely awesome.
But
it's consumer. Rich consumer, or how much they cost?
If I don't have the price in Switzerland, I remember. US, I would say the 1815 Plus is around $1,000 but that will require to be confirmed because I don't have the price for one.
What's the price here for RT2600ac?
It's not out yet, so we don't have any price yet.
So you might, depending on your strategy, you might want to be even more of a gangbuster product than the previous one. It might be. What's the price of the 1900?
This one is about from $150 to $200 if I remember properly.
Right. Cool. So basically, it's going to be a faster ARM processor. We got this one is 1.7 gigahertz if I remember, and the second one was 1.0. But the thing is, it's just because you got more connected users. The performance on previous one is already very acceptable. That's actually the one we use in Synology, because we really like to use our own product. And my floor is completely working with our router currently. All right, so that's awesome. So all these apps people develop on the NAS, are many of them working in the router, or they have to be different? Okay, so the thing is, the router currently it's only Synology apps because it's a different SDK. So currently we just start developing them one by one because they also need to maintain to reach our quality standards.
because we don't want to release an app that's not working or that might not be good in terms of user experience. So they are all tested. And so currently it's only our app that are running on the router.
And Google tried to make a router at some point. They kind of like selling stuff, and they're working together with some people to do that.
Yeah.
Are you using some of their ideas, or?
We do like to think they're using a bit of ours. Like just yesterday, I saw some Google people here looking at the router. After, if they have a good idea that no one is doing before, and it's really awesome for the users, what's the point of ignoring it? Yeah.
They're doing some kind of a smart load balancing, or what's it called, improving the connectivity somehow.
We do have something similar. It's called Smart Connect. So basically, the two networks, because those routers, they are broadcasting on two bands, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. And they are sometimes it's a bit confusing for some people. Like they wonder, well, what should I use? And the problem is those two bands has two different technical specs. And for example, 5G is better when you are closer from the router, but faster. So what we do is we merge those two bands together into one network using Smart Connect, and the router will decide automatically which band you should use. And from the user point of view, it's completely transparent.
That's awesome. So you just one Wi-Fi hotspot and that's it?
Yeah. And let's say maybe there's too many people on the 5G, it's going to switch you to the 2.4, or maybe you get a bit further from the router, your signal is losing strength. So it's not really useful to use 5G anymore, and you're going to switch automatically to 2.4.
So let's say it's an awesome router, maybe it's the best, right? It makes sense to have both the router and the NAS. They work together nicely?
It depends.
Or can you just use the router, that's it?
Well, you can use, we would prefer if you use both at the same time, but the router can work as a standalone thing, and you can use it as NAS with a couple of nice features. Like one of them is, for instance, are you familiar with Wake on LAN? Yeah. So like for instance, you want to start your NAS remotely, you can do that from the router interface. We get a Wake on LAN section, or maybe through everything that's related to port forwarding. Because our NAS are designed to discuss with routers to establish the port forwarding rules. So that can be done very quickly and very conveniently if you use both of them together. But there are a couple of synergies. But obviously, if you have Synology NAS, you might expect from your network to perform very, very fast. So you might need to invest in a faster router anyway, so that's why we start providing very high-speed router now.
Cool. High-speed, multi-gigabit Ethernets, and everything is super nice. All right, that's awesome.